So, for example, if I talk about this one village, one product, what late His Majesty the King of Thailand had promoted in Thailand, to bridge the regional disparities. I think all of us know the success story of Thailand. With almost zero mineral resources, 66% forest cover, 70% mountainous land, how it could be a $5 trillion economy. I'm talking about Japan. What type of economy it is? Is it a circular economy? Is it a resource efficient economy? Is it a linear economy, or what type of economy it is? If we try to analyze the footprint of Japanese growth model after the Second World War, there has been a rapid increase in societal and market-driven demand for environmental actions, which has actually catalyzed the behavioral changes in the corporate sector. That is why today you see the Japanese companies are one of the most resource-efficient companies on the planet, energy-wise, material use-wise, and minimum waste generation-wise. They have become actually most resource-efficient corporate sector. And resource efficiency has been the main mantra for all their corporate sector. World-class eco-cities have flourished between 1970s to 90. You must have heard about Kitakyushu, Kawasaki, these cities. These are fine examples of world-class eco-cities. And interestingly, if you analyze the Japanese GDP, the total GDP, and if you divide the total GDP by total material input, and you find this economy-wide raw material input in Japan is also declining, whereas the growth story has been maintained. So what economy we are talking about in case of Japan? Whereas in some of the Asian countries have become net importer of raw material. You must be knowing, including many Asia-Pacific countries. And at the same time, many Asian countries, many countries even beyond Asia-Pacific, they have lost significant percentage of their natural resources or ecological assets. Some studies say 30 to 40% of the ecological assets they have lost, even their GDP has doubled in last few decades. So what does this mean? What does this story tells about? One country with zero mineral resources is going up to become a $5 trillion economy, close to, and other countries have become net importer of raw material, and their economy-wide raw material input is increasing rather decreasing. So this is a big challenge. And I think all of us know that the Rio Summit, between Rio Summit 1992 and Rio +20, there was an attempt to bring together 3 line ministries in every country: the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Finance, and Ministry of Planning, with an objective to integrate environmental considerations in the planning process, environmental considerations in the financial, economic decision making. So basically, the 3 ministries under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister. They call at the time the National Council for Sustainable Development. Most of the countries, they establish NCSD, National Council for Sustainable Development. At the time also, following that, international community talked about the green economy also, and resource efficient economy. If I say the UNEP definition, United Nations Environment, which defines green economy as a low carbon, resource efficient, and socially inclusive economy. But following the adoption of the SDGs, the 17 goals and 169 targets of SDGs, there have been increased discussions on this circular economy, the topic of my speech today. In many political forums, in many political debates, economic debates, political debates, such as World Economic Forum, UN Environmental Assembly, that takes place every year. High-level political forum that takes every year in New York, that to assess the progress of implementation of SDGs by the member countries. And also our climate conference, UNFCCC conference of parties, many international conference of parties. And many countries have developed their circular economy roadmaps, including our Niti Aayog in India. They have developed a circular economy roadmap. Japan's Sound Material Cycle Society, Korea's resource recirculation. China has also promulgated the circular economy roadmap much earlier than even Japan. And many countries have developed their circular economy policies and programs in different sectors, in energy sector, in material sector, in biomass sector, in agriculture sector, in the water sector. And coming back to the SDGs, if you look into the SDGs, one thing you find it forms a common axis is the lasting supply security of natural resources. That forms the key axis. But many countries, as I told before, have become the net importer of raw materials. So where will the resources come from to meet the aspirations of the people, say, for example, our Asia Pacific people, and their living standards? In a similar vein, if you look into the Paris Agreement on the climate change, which aims to limit the average global temperature well below 2 degrees, preferably below even 1.5 degrees centigrade by end of this century, it has given us enormous opportunities to the member countries to harness the co-benefits of resource efficiency and climate mitigation. Wherever there is a resource extraction, wherever there is a resource use, it links to the greenhouse gas emissions. So how we manage our resources, our land use, our forest, our agriculture sector, our SMEs and industry sector, these all have implications with regard to the CO2 emissions. The circular economy approach allows countries, actually through the well-designed policies, to harness overarching synergies and, most importantly, avoid the trade-offs in several areas of environmental benefits and health benefits, including the resource depletion, climate change, water, soil quality, water pollution, among others. And in last 50 years, let me share now some of these slides. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. This is just a symbolic slide, a little bit old figure, 2010 to 2017. But new data are also available in the UN reports. Material footprint by type of material, you see, the unsustainable consumption of materials is on rise. And in last 50 years, if you see, the global use of materials has increased nearly fourfold, outpacing the population growth. And the world consumed 28.6 billion tons of materials in 1972, 54.9 billion tons in 2000, and which surpassed 100 billion tons in 2019. And if this business as usual continues, the material use may be between 170 to 184 billion tons by 2050. So where the resource will come from? That's the question. However, at the same time, rising waste levels accompanied by the rapid acceleration of consumption, with over 90% of all materials extracted and used are wasted. And the rate of extraction has continued to threaten the planet's future and the ecosystem. And you'll be surprised to know that only 8.6% make it back into the economy. So what is happening to rest of the resources once they reach the end of life? And if you are following the climate discussions, while much of the decarbonization discussions, there is a discussion how the countries will become carbon neutral, etc. All these discussions are actually have evolved around the energy sector, basically. Whereas resource and material efficiency is a very critical sector. And you'll be surprised to know that around 70% of greenhouse gas emissions are emitted are directly linked to the material handling and the use. 70% material handling. And climate is heating up too quickly for people and nature to adapt. And our lifestyles are associated with 2/3 of all GHGs. And studies show that sustainable lifestyles and behavior could reduce our emissions by 40 to 70% by 2050. These are all from the UN studies. Habitat loss, I think all of us know, the millions of species are threatened with extinction, at least 1 million species. And pollution continues to poison our land, water, and the ocean. So now, I tell you, after listening all these facts and the figures, circular economy is fundamentally not a recycle economy. I think before this talk, if any of us are thinking that it is a recycle economy, so let us continue to generate waste indefinitely and we will recycle it, then we have achieved circular economy. It is absolutely not. Remember, only 8.6% of the global economy is circular, only 8.6. That is the figure from the World Economic Forum 2021. The circular economy, what is circular economy? The circular economy offers us an environment-friendly alternative growth model to make better use of the natural resources like the forest, soil, water, metals, minerals, and our ecological assets. Circular economy is a closed loop. See this diagram. Circular economy is a closed loop economy in which nearly all wastes or outputs either become input to the manufacturing process or are returned to the natural system as benign emissions rather than as pollutants. Thus, pollution is prevented, whether it is land pollution, water pollution, ocean, or air pollution. If you see here, there are 3 types of economy. One is the linear economy, so one-way economy. The second one is more resource-efficient economy. And third one is the closed-loop economy. The countries are constantly trying to graduate from linear to resource-efficient to more closed-loop economy. I talked about Japan. So where Japan belongs to? Japan is certainly a resource-efficient economy. More and more wastes are being reused, reutilized, utilized in the manufacturing process. But linear economy, can you tell our India? Our India is a linear economy or resource efficient economy? Can anybody say? Where waste is traditionally thought of being no value, having no value. Either wastes are open dumped on the land or water, or even sometimes the precious, lifeline rivers. I think you see what is happening in our Jamuna River, Ganges, Mahanadi, many other rivers, they are choked in plastics waste. So certainly India will still is a linear economy. Pockets of recycling activities are happening, but not in a large scale throughout the country. Circular economy also implies we must decouple waste and ecosystem through the circular economy. That means circular economic utilization of the entire waste stream so that nothing is spilled into our rivers, lakes, water, oceans, and other ecosystem. And in fact, zero leakage to the ecosystem. And it is an economy in which resource efficiency is placed at the every economic decision making, at the center of the every economic decision making. It is an economy where waste are eliminated by treating them as valuable resources, as shown in this diagram. Consumption of raw material, natural resources such as water, energy, raw materials are minimized, are minimum for unique product or services. So if you compare between country and countries, various countries, you will find there is a large variation with regard to the resource efficiency, either in terms of product or the services. So the question is that how to transform our economies and societies to make them inclusive, fair, and more connected with the nature and the ecological assets. And we must shift from harming the planet to healing it. So how can we make our economy regenerative? I am using the word here, regenerative. How we can actually restore the ecosystem. Regeneration is actually at the heart of the circular economy. It is not a recycled economy. For example, I think all of us know the success story of the Montreal Protocol. The phenomenal success of the Montreal Protocol in phasing out the hydrochlorofluorocarbons, these SCFC gases, which are used worldwide in refrigerators, air conditioning, and foam applications, etc. And they are actually the ozone depleting substances, and they are powerful. There are around 200 ozone depleting substances. If you go to the website of the Montreal Protocol, Ozone Convention Secretariat, you will find they keep track on the production, consumption, export, import of the ozone depleting substances. And these ODS are 2,000 times more potent than the CO2, carbon dioxide, in terms of the global warming potential. So that means there is a synergy. So the Montreal Protocols brings a synergy while saving the ozone layer, and also it addresses the climate mitigation. So developed countries have actually phased out, most of the developed countries have phased out these ozone depleting substances. Actually, they were supposed to phase out by 2020, and the developing countries are expected to phase out by 2030. And you know the success story, ozone hole has recovered. So this is an economy. The ozone hole is recovering. This is regenerative. It's a perfect example of regenerative. I will give you another example is, because you are agricultural engineers, circular agriculture, which is promoting, UNFAO is promoting circular bioeconomy, circular agriculture in rural areas, which focuses on using minimal amount of external inputs, closing the nutrient loops, regenerating soils, and minimizing the impact on the environment. The excess fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, those are being used. These are ultimately going into the oceans, causing eutrophication, depleting the dissolved oxygen, and reducing the aquatic species. There's a chain reaction because of this, because we are unable to close this nutrient gap. So many things are being escaped into the ecosystem. Organic farming, polyculture, as opposed to monoculture, polyculture with a focus to eliminate the dependence on chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and plastics, is a regenerative economy, is a circular economy. Agroforestry, for example, tree planting in combination with crops and pastures that can help restore biodiversity in agricultural landscapes while increasing soil fertility by enhancing the accumulation of organic matter from the decaying nature, thereby making the agriculture more circular by reducing the dependency on the chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and also plastics. I think all of us know that agroforestry can also reduce the needs for plastic mulch by making the use of leaves and other plants as organic matter. Agroforestry, in combination with livestock farming, to lower ecological impacts using the crop residue biomass as animal fodder reduces the available soil cover, whereas using more available biomass from trees to meet the livestock needs to help maintain the constant soil cover and also reduce the soil erosion. So this is called regenerative bioeconomy, regenerative circular bioeconomy. This is what the FAO is also promoting. Biomass are also being used as a building material. So that is how closing the loop, instead of being left unutilized, the loop is closed. So coming to the issue of plastics, I think we have been debating in the last time a lot in this group. I think all of us know that nearly 8 million tons of plastics are getting into our ocean every year, 8 million tons, and at least 51 trillion microplastics. Microplastic means less than 5 mm diameter, small particles, plastic particles. They are formed out of wear and tear of the plastics. Those are being disposed to the river, and then finally they end up in the oceans. So they critically affect our food security. Microplastics in coastal and marine environment is a critical problem, including, you see, this is a fact here. By 2050, if we continue our business as usual, there will be more plastic than the fish in our oceans by 2050. And it is going to happen unless we take drastic measures with regard to the plastics. And you see here the consequences. These aquatic species, the birds, the fish, they are choked with plastics, microplastics basically, and including bioaccumulation of hydrophobic persistent organic pollutants. You know, they are plastics contains of persistent organic pollutants like PCBs, DDTs, SCS, and other form of plastics through ingestion. So we consume this fish, and bioaccumulation continues. And remember, most of these plastics wastes in oceans are from the urban areas, leaked into the natural drainage and rivers. And roughly 90% of all plastics into our oceans coming through only 10 rivers. And you'll be surprised to know 8 rivers are from Asia Pacific and 2 rivers are from Africa. So why are plastics getting into the rivers ecosystem in Asia Pacific largely? So it is a serious matter of concern. So the only solution to the plastic issue is not only the mass scale banning of single-use plastics, but also circular economic utilization of the plastics. Plastics are now increasingly utilized as a road construction materials. For example, in Bangalore, in India, I think some companies are championed. I know that Professor Debasmita Misra, I think you had commented that these also obstruct the natural drainage system on the roads, and some people have asked questions. So we can always debate those things. We can weigh actually the pros and cons, whether we will leave the plastics unutilized or we can construct, thousands and thousands of kilometers of road by utilizing the plastics, which are more strong, durable, and most importantly, it also saves our natural resources. Otherwise, where the road construction material will come? We'll dig out our mountains, we'll dig out our rocks, gravel, chips, etc., to build our roads. So we need to compare all these things. Plastics are used as building materials, plastic waste in Norway. And I had seen in my own eye The railway line crossbars in Australia, when I was in Adelaide in 2016, on the sideline of our 7th Regional 3R Forum that UN was organizing, I had visited a place which is called Alternative Timber. The name is Alternative Timber. And all the timbers lying there in that factory were made from plastics waste, including the railway crossbars. And they were so heavy, so strong, we all felt like as if they are the steel bars. So these type of applications are there. In Japan, Europe, America, you can see predominant use of the plastics to make the furnitures. Furnitures in the parks, furnitures in the gardens, the furnitures, the roadside furnitures, etc. There are lots of applications that are being happening. In India also, we are gradually seeing some of the examples. So circular economy, or moving towards zero waste society. When I say the term zero waste, I am not claiming that waste cannot be produced, should not be produced. Waste are produced. Zero waste society means not a single waste is discharged into the ecosystem. That is zero waste societies. Every waste is utilized in some way. Is inherently a multi-stakeholder process, partnership, like governments, business, civil society, financial institutions, research organizations. They all have to play in a coordinated way. In order to advance circular economy, my next phase of discussion talk is, how can you really advance circular economy in a country? I told you only 8.6% of the world economy is circular. So this concept is still at its infancy. Resource efficient economy or circular economy are still at their infancy. The first thing we need is very strong interagency coordination. That is what we have been discussing, dialoguing with the countries. If you see, primarily, when you talk about circular economy or resource efficient economy, conventionally, people think immediately the Ministry of Environment. That's the problem. This is an area that all 9 ministries have to work together. Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Construction, Ministry of Transport, Environment, Rural Development, etc. Because we need a strong horizontal cooperation among all the ministries. Because biomass, circular economic utilization of the biomass waste, Ministry of Agriculture, circular economic utilization of the wastewater to increase water security. You know, many countries are already heading towards water stress, severe water stress. So that falls under the purview of the Ministry of Freshwater Resources. Circular economic utilization of the forest resources, the Ministry of the Forest. So it is not conventionally to be dealt by only the Ministry of the Environment. Second one is we need to set in motion a triangular cooperation. I think my last input in the group was I was talking about triangular cooperation. Triangular cooperation is basically the government, science and research organization, and the private sector. They three have to work. Otherwise, it will be extremely difficult to advance circular economy. Because circular economy needs tremendous tremendous technological interventions. All these frontier technologies, robotics, Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, blockchain, all these technologies, nanotechnology, green chemistry, all these technologies, the frontier technologies, actually our private sectors are actually the custodian of the technology. So, but where the technology come from? The technology basically come from a lab, from a research and development organization. So the government has to put the seed money for the R&D. So whatever the R&D sector developed, that's whatever prototype model that is developed by the R&D organization, that needs to be taken care of the private sector, was mass produced by the private sector. So this is what the triangular cooperation. And some studies suggest that circular economy could also generate $4.5 trillion additional economic output by 2030. It has a lot of potential. So this is an example. It is from the Kawasaki Eco Town from Japan, which demonstrates a strong triangular cooperation that I was mentioning about. Under the umbrella policy framework of the government of Japan, that is called Sound Material Cycle Society. Of course, Japan is now developing circular economy roadmap. Japan has started also talking about the Society 5.0. And here you can see a Kawasaki is an eco town, and it has demonstrated phenomenal industrial symbiosis. The waste of one industry is utilized as an input raw material by the another industry. If you see here, for cement manufacturing plants utilizing the industrial waste, coal, waste plastics, clay, sludge, etc. These are being used by cement manufacturers. Similarly, you see there are so many examples are there, like waste plastics as reducing agent to blast furnace. So basically, waste plastics is used in the blast furnace. And similarly, for the stainless steel manufacturing industries, some of the input waste materials are waste steel, the stainless scrap steel, etc. So how this is happening? So this is one of the things that is Japan has championed actually. They're the first country to champion in Asia Pacific. The industrial symbiosis, the ecocity, is because of a strong triangular cooperation promoted by the government. Oh, sorry. Okay, probably that was my last slide, and the rest of the things I continue. So do I have few minutes, Professor Mishra?
Yes, you have about 5 minutes.
Okay, let me just summarize a little bit.
Yes.
Let me summarize. Let me tell you in the beginning, sorry, at the end is moving towards circular economy also means enhancing resilience. Nowadays, you see, there are a lot of discussion about resilience, how we can actually build a resilient economy, resilient society, resilient country.
Can you stop sharing the screen, please?
Yeah. So there is a lot of talk about how to build the resilience of the cities, resilience of these communities, resilience of the countries, and resilience of the ecosystem. One thing is very clear. If you look into the SDGs, the state of our natural resources and ecological assets determine the degree of our resilience to issues like the climate change, increasing frequency and magnitude of the natural disasters. Say, for example, mangrove forest areas. Mangrove provide excellent resilience, they build resilience of the communities, of the localities against natural disasters like flooding, tsunamis. I think we all remember the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. And it was observed at that time, it is basically, I'm referring to the IUCN, wherever the mangrove forests were clear, the impact of the tsunami was devastating. So there is a very close nexus between the ecological assets and the resilience. So therefore, how we manage our natural resources and ecological assets will define the level of our resilience, social resilience, economic resilience, and ecological resilience. And they are all interrelated. And resilience of one dimension will trigger the resilience in other dimensions. So let me finally conclude that, as you all know, that UN member countries are concurrently implementing a number of international agendas and agreements, SDGs, Paris Agreement, the new urban agenda. The new urban agenda is basically the having more closer look at the SDG 11, how we can make our cities safe, inclusive, smart, resilient, and sustainable. The Addis Ababa Action Agenda is basically looking for new type of financing mechanism to build resilient infrastructure. Because building resilient infrastructure is a large area and where the countries need enormous amount of investment to build the resilience. So where the money will come from. So basically under the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, the countries are looking for new type of financing mechanisms such as partnerships, tax reforms, ecological tax, etc., to generate new financing to build resilient infrastructure. And the success of these agendas, the international agendas, whether SDG, Paris Agreement on climate change, all these things depend on how effectively we integrate circular economy in major development sectors: transport, agriculture, water resource, forest, mines, industry, trade, commerce, construction, energy, tourism, etc. And circular economy is an overarching principle in achieving synergies in national and international efforts to achieve these international agendas and agreements, and promote circular economy strategies that halt degradation of natural and ecological assets by reducing the demand of the virgin raw material. So that is what I emphasized in the beginning. So our sole objective through circular economy promotion is to reduce the demand on the virgin raw materials, because these are finite resources. We cannot just keep on consuming them unsustainably and while polluting the rivers, the oceans, the land ecosystem by disposing these wastes. So it's a double blow to the planet. We are depleting the resources because planet is acting as a sink, as a resource for all the resources. And the planet is also acting as a sink because you are discharging all the pollutants back to the planet. So circularity should not be just discussed in the waste domain. So I think I have seen that many people, the moment you talk about circular economy, people immediately connect to the waste management. Absolutely not. It is rather the resource management. Resource management, waste management are two sides of a single coin, because the way we manage our natural resources and ecological assets, it has vast implications on the waste generation. And the way we manage our waste resources, it has vast implications on our natural resources and ecological assets. So with this one, I conclude here, and I will be looking forward to any questions for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudra. Actually, I will request anybody who wants to ask question to use the raise hand feature so that I can invite you individually, to ask a question. We have 15 minutes. But there are a couple of questions in the chat before we get into others asking question. One is, while you are talking about circular economy, can you talk about the monetary investments required to reuse the waste? Isn't the prohibitive investment costs make it infeasible?
While you are talking about circular economy, can you talk about the monetary investments required to reuse the waste? You see, at the end of the day, we need to, I think it's a very good question. At the end of the day, we need to take into account the environmental externalities, the damage that we are doing to the ecosystem, the damage we are doing to the natural environment. Who is evaluating those costs? These costs are less than the monetary investments, or these costs are much more than the monetary investment? Say, for example, today, most of the lifeline rivers in India are choked with the wastes. So the damage to the ecosystem, if we give a monetary value to it, the damage, the economic damage caused by the rampant discharge of waste into our water system, just for one example. So what will be its cost? So the government should not be thinking always investment as a burden, investment in circular economy area as a burden. That is why you see many countries are still in linear economy. There is no political will to graduate from linear economy to resource efficient economy to closed loop economy. Why today? There are few countries, they are already talking to closed loop economy. They are in a process of phasing out the landfill requirements. Because landfill is an expensive process because you need land resources. You need actually substantial amount of financing to construct the landfill. Small island developing states, they cannot afford to have the landfill requirement. For them, landfilling is a suicidal decision. So the government has to weigh. That is why India has come up with a circular economy roadmap. I have a note here with me, but I tell you, I have nothing to criticize the government of India here, but I see here the circular economy roadmap of India. It has identified 11 priority areas for India's circular economy. Municipal solid waste, liquid waste, scrap metal, second, electronic waste, lithium batteries, solar panels, gypsum, toxic and hazardous industrial waste, used oil waste, agricultural waste. 10th is a tire and rubber recycling, end of life vehicle. You see here, what message are we getting from these 11 areas? Here, basically, it is not a circular economy roadmap. It is a recycle roadmap. So circular economy is not a recycle economy. So everything is talking about here, the waste recycling, waste recycling, waste recycling. There is no mention. There is nothing actually that we need to regenerate our ecosystem. India has also lost 30 to 40% of ecological assets. Our economy has phenomenally grown. So what does it mean actually, this growth story?
Rudra, can I take your questions for Rudra? This is Anu.
Yes, I can see you, please.
Yeah, I think I don't know who, I didn't go to the chat box. I think the question was from the entrepreneur point of view, if I want to enter into this as a business, how sustainable it will be. I hope that was the question. Maybe is it viable, feasible to take up this as a business? I being in the sector since 3 decades, personally, I see unless there is a assistance from the government or the local authorities in various forms, as in India particularly, this business will not be sustainable. The investor who is investing, he needs a lot of subsidies, lot of help getting the land, all these things, from where you will get supply chain assistance. Otherwise, independently, if somebody wants to invest in this sector, the business, from the pure business point of view, I have invested 1 rupee, I should get back my 1 rupee in a certain period of time, as a typical business model. As of now, this is not a sustainable model. That's what, purely from the business point of view, if you look at, this would be the answer, probably what he is expecting. And that's
yeah. Let us take, for example.
That's true.
Take example for that plastic material is the road construction. What is happening in Bangalore?
Yeah. Now,
who is the environmental impact of the drainage, the blockage, etc.? Forget about.
I know. Some of the investors, some of the promoters have started putting up plants, new plants with some 20, 30, 40 crores of investment in various parts of Bangalore and Mumbai, Nasik, just to get those waste products which are dangerous to the ecology and use it for some other form of application to recycle these wastages. But again, they themselves are struggling. Sometimes they say, it may not be feasible to continue this business. I'm thinking of shutting it down. So purely from a business point of view, unless there is a kind of, as of now, possibly it may, in future, it may be more viable or maybe more feasible to get the return. But as a businessman, why they should look for a long-term, that's a typical problem. Businessmen in India, they don't look for the ecology impact of the product. As of now, it's pure business.
No, that's the problem.
That's a serious problem in our business model itself.
Yeah, that's the problem, Anup, actually.
That's what I'm saying. So
the circular economy is not supposed to be driven only by the private sector.
Exactly.
Talking about the triangular cooperation.
So it's a cooperation between government, various authorities, the NGOs, the investors, even of course, I'm not saying it has not improved. In India also, there is a lot of things happening in this area. A lot of awareness has come. People are at least aware of things, what is right, what is wrong. But again, the change is not that fast. It's changing. I remember, I think it is 2008 or 2007 or 8, when the policy of e-waste management came. People are, what is e-waste? Why it should be? But that time the heaps outside the electronic waste heaps outside the metros, mini metros, tier 1, tier 2 cities, people are just giving statistics. Now we are realizing, yes, after 15, 20 years, it's a serious problem.
Okay, so let me intervene. What you are talking about is a recycle economy, not what you're mentioning right now is recycle economy. We're thinking in terms of that, not by circular economy. And that's what Rudra has been emphasizing, is we need to move from the mindset of recycling economy to a circular economy. Okay. And to be honest with you, even USA is debating about it. Okay, still right now, USA is debating about circular economy, right? Just yesterday, I was in a meeting where we are talking about how to implement circular economy. What are the parameters? So those are there. What I want to do is not continue with this discussion. I want to see if others have any questions.
True.
So, okay, so could you please mute yourself so that we can see if others have questions? Thank you, Mr. Rath.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else wants to ask a question? You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Otherwise, there is a question also in the chat. Another question, Rudra. Will reuse of plastic wastes in building or roads destroy the threat or only defer the harm caused? The plastic once generated continues to be on this earth. So isn't the action point should be alternative to plastic to reduce its generation?
No, true. The intention is very clear. I think what I'm not able to see the name. I think what the panelist is saying basically that the prevention is better than actually the generating the waste and then think of recycling, because recycling happens at significant cost of energy, significant cost of water, pollution, etc. Also, it doesn't happen without all these implications. So the thing is that we need to actually make a proper comparison whether our plastics will remain unutilized here and there. I didn't show you the pictures. Let me show you the pictures here. I think I had a huge number of slides today. I didn't present. I see some of the slides like this.
So we have just 4 minutes, okay, Rudra, and I want to wrap up on time. So
okay,
yeah.
Okay. So then I don't show the slides. So actually, you are correct. Actually, prevention is much better. Road construction, irrespective of the difficulties that we are, people are debating on, at least the plastic are not leaked into the ecosystem rather than, they are used as a road construction, which is much preferred.
So
Yes, I have a question.
yes,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question.
Yes,
Go
sir,
ahead.
please.
The question relates to our agriculture. That is
Please.
stubble burning. Stubble burning.
Yes.
But the Delhi NCR is now suffering due to stubble burning in Punjab, Rajasthan, and nearby Uttar Pradesh. So,
Correct.
what action Japan government or other China government have taken for this stubble burning, which is polluting the air? We are just talking about the plastic that is polluting the water and the ocean. But what about the stubble burning, which is a major problem nowadays? What action other countries have taken regarding this?
Actually, that's a very good question. In one of our forum, there was a presentation made by one of the experts. He was saying he had done some extensive studies, Professor Agamutu from Malaysia. He was saying Asian countries have $1 billion worth of circular economic utilization of the biomass waste. Basically, what they are burning in Punjab and Haryana is stubble burning are basically the biomass. They have tremendous applications with regard to circular economic utilization. I don't have the slide with me. I will bilaterally share with you that slide. Tremendous applications. So why they are burning, we do not know. So they can rather utilize, they can create job, they can create income for people, and they can save the environment instead of sending all the pollutants to the capital city of New Delhi. It's possible.
So we need to, what I'm hearing is we are lacking in the policy part, and the understanding of circular economy. I'm using bio, but circular economy. So there should be some, as CITians, I would say, let's take this discussion into our forum, and maybe we can influence the government in adopting, trying or creating a pathway to circular economy, not adopting it, creating a pathway towards circular economy. And just like Prabhat Babu just asked, can we influence the government to consider alternatives? Okay, so with that, I'm going to thank Rudra immensely for this talk today, and thank everybody who joined. And this is recorded. I'm going to share it with all of you in the CITians forum, and also Facebook page, so that those who could not attend can and we can ask Rudra later on, so that we can continue with the discussion. So Rudra, I know it's midnight for you. Thank you.
No problem. No problem.
Thank you very much. And all of you from India or from elsewhere, thank you very much for joining. Professor Swai, thank you for joining, and and others, of course, and those who asked great questions. With that, we will look forward to our second tea talk next month, at the end of next month. So I thank you all, and wish you all a great evening today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And